This segment is brought to you by Waits and Downer, attorneys at law.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Highway 56, the Boudreaux Canal Bridge is out. So that means anybody trying to get to Cocodrie now has to go through Dulac to get there, which is probably the worst time ever to do that when you talk about sports fishermen, you talk about people trying to get down to Cocodrie this time of year. It's a real tough deal. We've been knowing this for a while, as we'll bring in Jessica Domingue, whose district, she's in Baton Rouge. She represents District 53. Kim Chauvin, who's District 8 of Terrebonne Parish Council, will also be with us. Jessica, why don't you tell me from the state's point of view where we at with this bridge? And we've been talking about replacing these bridges for a long time, but now I guess it moved up in priority, huh?
Right, so Boudreaux Canal does have a project to replace the bridge. I think most of the people in the area know. However, it's not scheduled to begin until 2026. Of course, that's kind of how DOTD works. They've got a time frame for everything. So we had a 2026 replacement date. However, this morning I was contacted by DOTD to tell me that they were doing an emergency shutdown of the bridge. So what happened, and I just want to be very transparent with your viewers and with the people of Terrebonne Parish, there was an inspection done by the Bridge City Department of DOTD in June of 2024. That inspection showed critical infrastructure deficiencies, critical problems with the bridge. June of 2024, I want you guys to remember this, by Bridge City. Bridge City failed to send that report to Baton Rouge. So who are the ones who actually schedule the bridge replacements? So the communication, there was a complete lack of communication, complete breakdown as far as DOTD goes. So they did not send the report with these critical deficiencies to the people here in Baton Rouge who are at the corporate office. So this morning, whenever I found out what was happening with the bridge, I left the House floor. We were voting this morning, left the House floor, so went to the DOTD office, which is right down the street from the Capitol. I met with the director of DOTD as well as the head of bridges, and had a very passionate conversation about, how upset we were about this. And explain that this cannot happen again. We cannot be out of a bridge again. This is completely unacceptable. There was a complete failure with DOTD, and they agreed that this was completely on them. This was not related to our local DOTD office. This is not related to a lack of something that happened on the parish point of view. This was a complete failure with them to not receive the report. So when they received the report, they actually received the report by a dump truck driver who happened to be passing the bridge, said there's some issues, called in the report, and so somehow they found this from Bridge City. Jeez. And so we're going to get it down today. That's the kind of incompetence we're talking about right now with DOTD. Once again, I went to the meeting. They have completely shut down the bridge. We are looking at some solutions right now to get that bridge back up and running, because of course we can't be out of a bridge until 2026 and further, knowing that there's only pretty much one way in, one way out. Right. So where we are now is looking at all the alternatives. We are looking at some immediate repairs. They're sending some crews down immediately to see if we can repair, and while we're repairing, possibly keep one lane open for traffic. They're also looking at temporary bridge solutions. We're looking at, and I'm looking at my notes right now, an ACRO, which is a acronym for a temporary bridge, which is pretty cost efficient. Don't let DOTD tell you it's not cost efficient. We can get one for about $1 million. We will have to get a lift bridge though, because there's so much maritime traffic in that area. A lot of the fishing boats have to get to Lake Boudreaux, so we've got to have that bridge open, be able to, open back and forth. DOTD isn't really, and you know, these companies that we rent these lift bridges from or these temporary bridges from don't have a lot of swing bridges.
Right.
So if we can get something, it's going to be a lift bridge. You know, once again, it's just going to be something we're going to have to push really, really hard for over here in Baton Rouge. I've already met with Senator Fessy. I've met with the Speaker of the House, as well as the head of DOTD, letting them know how imperative it is, because I mean, we just can't be out of this bridge.
Yeah, let me bring in Kim Chauvin. What does this mean? I guess good that we're getting stuff done, but this is a real inconvenience.
Yeah, it's going to be a major inconvenience because they've already been hit hard with the Robinson Canal Bridge that was shut down for quite some time, and extended time on that part of it. And Jessica's been really good, you know, going to bat for us to try and get this done. But we met, like, right as I was coming into office for about the last year and a half. I have been at, you know.
You were some of those inspections, right?
Yes, and just meeting with Department of Transportation and telling them how imperative it was to have a plan, that it wasn't about if this bridge would break. It was always been about when it would break, because I've been there when I've had the electricians working on it, and I'm listening to these people and I'm thinking, something is, you know, like we've got to get something going. But I've been at this since January. Now, I did talk to Jessica, and we agreed that, and Senator Fessy, that we need to meet with the community to allow them to know, and then get Department of Transportation there, and probably someone from the governor's office if possible, and our parish president, so that they can ask the questions. There are some hard hit questions that need to be answered, and the parish is not in charge of that. Jessica's not in charge of that bridge, although she maneuvers things, her and Mike Facey, to get things done. And now more than ever, you know, I'm watching them roll in it and try to maneuver through this. But we have a lot of work to do to make sure our community's okay.
Before we started, you said you're going to have a lot of emails. You're going to have a lot of correspondence. So, Jessica, thanks so much for joining us. And anything you want to say to wrap up?
Yeah, so I just want to emphasize that this report was done, and this inspection was done in June of 2024. So they knew, DOTD knew that there was a critical failure in the infrastructure of this bridge. However, they didn't report it to the people that they needed to report it to. Kim did what she was supposed to do, right, and reported it to who she's supposed to report it to. I did what I'm supposed to do and reported to who I need to report it to. There was a breakdown in DOTD, and I just want to highlight that we did do a massive overhaul of the entire DOTD system this session. The governor has not signed those bills yet, but they're sent to his desk. We did a complete overhaul of the entire DOTD, because we know it's a mess. I mean, this isn't just us that are having this issue. Everyone's having these issues.
Yeah, that's been one of the big things that come out of this legislative session. So you got about 3 or 4 days to go. So we appreciate your representation up in Baton Rouge. Thanks for working hard. We'll see if we can get that, at least a temporary bridge, right?
Hey, we're going to work as hard as we possibly can.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Waits and Downer, attorneys at law.